Fear of death is probably one of the biggest motivations that people have to get involved in spirituality in the first place. Our brains are really smart. This is a problem because we are able to actually understand that each of us is going to die. And because the stories we've been given about that don't quite make sense, it creates a lot of fear in us. So we need better stories around this. And this is so much of what spiritual teachings are about. This is one of the reasons why this Sufi teaching of die before you die is so valuable. Because if you cannot have the fear of death, then you can live your life in a totally different way. You're not running away from something. You're not constantly facing this mysterious thing that you can't explain. Now, I want to be specific about something that two things usually get mixed up in people when we talk about fear of death. And if we can separate those two things, the discussion about it becomes a lot simpler. So there's fear of death itself. What happens after you die? And there's fear of dying. Exactly how are you going to die? Is it going to hurt? Is it going to be awful? Is it going to be horrible? So these are two totally different things, because fear of what happens after you die can very easily be overcome by understanding. And when you dissolve yourself into this die before you die, then that fear just goes away. We'll talk about that more in the future. But there's also just the fear of how horrible is it going to be? I mean, like I said, we're really smart. We can see things and we can watch people die. And I mean, shoot, turn on the TV, you dying, right? Horrible, awful stories. So, of course, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was facing a pretty dire possible future. Well, actually, I was facing a pretty dire future, period, because it was either die, go through horrible chemo, or try to heal myself, some sort of situation that was not going to be pleasant. I went from being healthy to sick, just like that. And the weird thing about it is, I mean, from day one to day two, I didn't really feel that different, except for that I had this obvious swelling that obviously wasn't good. So let's only just talk right now about the fear of the actual situation. And it doesn't have to be cancer. There are so many situations that are awful. Divorce, losing a job, getting married. I mean, all these things make huge changes to our lives. Even just little things throughout the day, like you say something wrong and you get into a whole lot of trouble, or should I say that, which you've learned by saying things wrong in the past, right? So we have all this fear about how to live our lives. If you don't know who you are, that fear is way bigger than the fear experienced by someone who does know who they are. Because when you do know who you are, all your experiences build upon each other to create wisdom in you. When you don't know who you are, everything seems mysterious and even disconnected. Like our number one spiritual question even is, why did that happen to me? You know, why me? You know, and then we have all the manifesting teachings that, well, it happened to you because you manifested it. You know, oh, what did I do? You know, so why did this happen to me? Is a question that can only come if you don't know who you are. If you know who you are, it's kind of the same question, why did this happen to me? But it's like just a question based in reality. Sometimes there isn't an answer. Why did I get cancer? There is literally no answer to it. Sometimes, apparently, there's actual cause and effect that can be pinned down. Like there is a cancer that comes from working with asbestos. You know, there seems to be cancer that's related to living, to being exposed to too much radiation and things like that. But just this general toxicness of our society, you can't pin it down and you can't really say, why did this really happen? So that's why we need to be grounded in our being. Die before you die. When the nafs die, when the ego dies, you become awake. Actually, you're always awake. The fantasy goes away, and now you're sitting there awake. So if you're not having to deal with your illusions about life, then you can deal directly with life. There's enough problems in life without having to deal with our fantasies and our illusions about it. So that's one of the things that's really nice about this Sufi teaching, because simply knowing this, die before you die, there is something that can die so that you emerge awake. This is what the illuminated souls are. And the way you get there through Sufi teachings is through usually breath practices, but actually more concentration. Sufism is a practice of concentration. That's mostly what the breath is. You're concentrating on the breath in, concentrating on the breath out. Eventually, you discover who it is that's concentrating. So the more you concentrate on life, and this is one of the beauties of Sufi teachings, the more you concentrate on life and concentrate on the positive aspects about yourself that can deal with life, the stronger the being of you that can concentrate becomes. So we bring forth our inner concentration more and more and more. And it makes it so when you're walking through life, especially if you're focusing on your ability to live in harmony, to live awake with people, to live truthfully, the stronger you get. And the more you're able to separate these two fears, the fear of dying and the fear of death. Separate them through your ability to concentrate, and now you can deal with them as two different things. The fear of death, of being dead, simply means that you haven't encountered the unity of everything in existence. There is no way that anything can actually die because everything is so intimately blended together. And it's easy to see this if you think of yourself, I am just my body. So just imagine that for just a minute. All you are is biology. What happens to your body when you die? Well, it dissolves back into the matter of the earth, right? There is no reason to believe that all of us is not that interconnected. And the easiest thing to understand about it as we move forward is that everything is already taken care of. You really don't have to worry about it. Knowing details about exactly what it's going to be like to be dead is useless. We need to understand what it's like to be alive. There was one great Sufi Sheikh Farad, and he was asked one time, I'm afraid of death. Tell me about death. And the sheikh just looked at the questioner and said, I don't know anything about death. I'm alive. I know everything about being alive. Let's talk about that. So fear of death is, if you look at it directly, you'll experience the fact that it just starts dissipating because it's not real. It's a fear about something that's not real. Well, I am going to die. Well, yeah, but it's already taken care of. Don't worry about it. And I'm not talking about, fate. We have our moment of death is predetermined, blah, 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 blah. I'm talking about the fact that it's already taken care of. This is how existence exists. Here's one little medical tidbit that will be interesting to know, is that they have discovered that at the moment of death, the body releases really amazing, like all your good hormones are all released in a way that makes actual death not horrible. I mean, don't go kill yourself just so that you can feel it. You'll get there soon enough. But there's no need to worry about exactly what's going to happen. Now, worry about dying is a very useful thing, because don't go like driving fast and get into a car wreck, and don't eat just some horrible food and smoke cigarettes and things that are going to make you die, because you probably will die in some painful, horrible way. So don't do that. Have some care. Have a lot of care for yourself. And this is, again, like if you look directly at the fear of dying, you'll see that it melts away if you replace that with care. Caring for yourself. And this is going to be part of the story, of course, of me getting cancer and what happened after that, because it turned into a very good example of care for myself. So again, I want to emphasize that I did not cure myself of cancer. I just cared for myself. And it's not like I wasn't caring for myself before, but it turned into a higher level of care and concentration. So fear of death Look directly at it, and you'll experience how it starts to dissipate.